Hello, my name is Elijah Baker, and welcome to Joe's Awesome. Today I'm going to be reading Wheeler's Big Move by Daniel Schantz. Chapter 1. In shock. "It's gone!" Sonny shrieked. "It's gone!" He gaped at the rectangle of dead grass on the ground by the garage. A May Robin was fishing a worm from a damp part of the empty spot. "My car is gone! Somebody stole my car!" He walked around the spot, kicking the brittle stumble, as if expected to find the car hidden in a clump of grass. His blue eyes flashed this way and that. His bony body moved with sharp jerks. "Maybe Dad just moved it," he said to himself. He sprinted all around the garage, then back and forth, to the lot of used cars in his father's car lot. "Oh, it's been stolen," he muttered. But who would want to steal an old Studebaker? He dashed around the house in one last desperate move. Searched for the machine that had been like a second home to him, but it was nowhere to be found. He raced into the house shouting, "Mom! Dad! Help!" No answer. He shot back outside and over to the garage outfits. He exploded through the door, and saw the panic in his eyes. His mother was working at the office computer. Startled by his entrance, she jumped to her feet. "What is it, Sonny? What's wrong?" Sonny gasped for breath. "It's my car! It's gone! Somebody stole my car! Call the police, quick!" Just then Mr. Wheeler ambled into the office from the shop. "Nobody stole your car, Sonny." He said, "I sold it." You what?" "I sold it. Yeah, got a good price, sold it. But Dad, that was my car!" Mr. Wheeler shook his head violently, and his mustache curled down in a frown. "Sonny, I told you this was happening someday. I told you a long time ago that I was looking for a buyer for that car." "But—" His father pointed a warning finger at him. "Sonny, I never gave you that car to keep. I told you you could have it to play in, but I never said you owned it. It's a collector's item. There's a big demand for cars like that." But Dad," Sonny started to object. Then, when tears blinded him, his voice tightened up so much that he couldn't finish a sentence. His father stared at him coldly, then turned and disappeared into the garage. Sonny's mother started to put his arms around Sonny, but he jerked away and turned toward the wall. "Sonny, I'm sorry. I really am. I didn't agree with your father's decision. I thought he should have asked you first. But he is right, you know. He never told you the car was your personal property. He gave it to you just to have fun with." Sonny nodded, but his face was beet red and twisted with pain. His eyes drained down over his cheeks. He took a deep breath and let it out in jerks. He wiped away his eyes with his palms and took another deep breath, which he let out with a whimpering sound. "I'll be okay," he said, wiping in his nose with the back of his hand. His mother put an arm on his shoulder and squeezed it. "Sonny, try to understand that your father just isn't being himself right now." Sonny cocked an eyebrow. "Oh, who is he then?" "You know what I mean. He got a lot in his mind," she said in a faraway voice. She reached for a piece of paper on his desk and handed it to Sonny. "I think it's because of this." Sonny studied the lever with a frown. Then he looked up at his mother. "It's a job offer." She nodded. Deep lines formed on her brow. "And he's going to take it." Sonny's jaw dropped. "But that means—" "I know. It means we'll be moving to Kansas City." "But that's 100,000 millions away. And we've always lived here. We can't move." "I won't go. I just plain won't go." At supper, everyone was pretty quiet. Mr. Wheeler looked mean and grumpy instead of his usual cheery self. "We're going to his house," Ernest whispered to his Sonny, who noticed his father's bad mood. "Careful. He's in monster mode," Sonny whispered back. Soon the meal was almost over, and no one had said much of anything. Miss Wheeler and the boys kept stealing glances at Mr. Wheeler. Finally, Miss Wheeler started to break the ice. "Well, Ralph, I think that at least you'll need to give these boys an explanation. They deserve that much." Mr. Wheeler flipped his hands. "Joyce, there's nothing to explain. This is the opportunity I've been waiting for all my life. If I go into partnership with Don, I can double my salary and cut back on hours. I'd be a fool to pass this up." "What about us?" she replied meekly. "I mean, this decision affects all of us, too." The boys nodded slightly. Their eyes followed back and forth as their parents argued. "We don't need the money, Ralph. We've always gotten by." "But I don't want to just get by, Joyce. I want to go somewhere in life." He paused to take a deep breath. "And I'm tired of this place, this house, this job." His face drooped. His eyes sagged. I can't keep up with things. If this house needs painting, we could paint it, Sonny interrupted, and Ernest nodded. My sales are down. We could drum some business, Ernest volunteered. The whole place is a mess. Weeds, junk, trash lying around. No wonder sales are up. People probably think this is a junkyard, not a stock car dealership. He staggered to his feet and shoveled to the sink, where he filled his water glass. He drank it all in one gulp, belched, and then reached for a box on the counter. Oh, I almost forgot. You guys might be interested in all this. It's, He reached into the box and pulled out a black object about the size and shape of a cereal box. It had a long snout on it and made it look like some kind of gun. What is it? Ernest rolled his eyes. It's a camcorder, he said. For making movies. Remember Mr. Watts brought one to class. Mr. Wheeler peered through the eyepiece. A customer gave it to me because he didn't have the catch to pay his bill. You're welcome to play with it, but I'll take good care of it. Miss Wheeler scowled. She pointed a finger at her husband and said, That's why people don't get ahead, Ralph. You're too kind to people. We don't need a damn camcorder. We need a cash. Ernest reached for the camera, turning it around in his hands and admiring it. Mr. Wheeler sat back down. His mood was lighter now that he had eaten some good food. But it was clear he had not changed his mood about moving. Joyce, he said excitedly, I figure we can get $20,000 out of this house, and maybe the same for the business. But Ralph, how do you know we're going to even like Kansas City, or whether you can work with Don? I mean, Don's a good friend, but sometimes good friends don't make good business partners. Mr. Wheeler stood back from the table. He cleared his throat and spoke in a firm, deep voice. Joyce, this is a chance of a lifetime, and I'm not going to pass it up. My father always said when the tide comes in, you gotta launch your boat in, or else you'll spend the rest of your life waiting around in shallow water. He stood up, tucked in his shirt, and pointed himself out the door to the garage. Sonny and Ernest looked pleadingly at their mother. Mom, do something! Don't let us make a move! Miss Wheeler shook her head slowly. I don't know. Your dad can be pretty stubborn. I've never seen him so determined about anything before. She sighed and added, Of course, your father is a reasonable man. Maybe he could be persuaded. I know one thing about life and death for certain. There's always hope. Always. She filled an old milk carton with table scraps and went out to the table trash cans with it. Sonny looked at his Ernest with desperation in his eyes. We gotta do something. Anything, and quick. Ernest nodded. We can start by cleaning up around here. We can paint the house. He looked at his camcorder in his house. He had it like a machine gun and pointed at the kitchen door. His face darkened and he said, No way am I going to move to Kansas City. I'll go down fighting. And he sprayed the door with imaginary bullets.